welcome back to Francophile Phonics, and in this edition today I plan on covering some basic vocabulary words, and today we are going to be covering animals. So, like I said, we're going to be covering animals today, and to say that you could say des animaux. So first off we have un animal, which is animal. Un animal. So, animal. And then to say wild animal, you could say un animal sauvage. Un animal sauvage. Next up is farm animals. And to say farm animals, you could say un animal de ferme. Un animal de ferme. Next up is just a pet. And you can just say that by saying un animal de compagnie. Un animal de compagnie. Next up is pig. And to say pig, you can say un cochon. Un cochon. And so, yeah, this is a weird picture that I found, but I really thought that it was a good picture of a pig. So next up is a pretty hard word to pronounce in French for a lot of beginner speakers. To say this, you can say un écureuil. Un écureuil. It's kind of a throaty sound. I kind of just did it wrong, actually. It's un écureuil. So very tip of your tongue kind of hitting your teeth a little bit there. But that's the word for squirrel. Un écureuil. Next up is chicken, which is the best animal in my opinion. They're so cute and they obviously taste very, very, very good. But to say that, you can say un poulet. Un poulet. Next up is rooster, and the rooster is actually the national bird of France, the coq gallois. So basically, this is a rooster. Un coq. Un coq. Next up is a turkey, which also is one of my favorite birds. At Thanksgiving, obviously, it's a very, very, very big deal in the United States. So in order to say turkey, it's un dinde. Un dinde. Un dinde. I kind of like that word, the way it rolls off of the tongue there. So next up is goat. And to say goat, you can say une chèvre. Une chèvre. And that actually is a type of cheese, goat cheese, in France as well, chèvre. Next up is sheep. And in order to say sheep, you can say un mouton. Un mouton. Un mouton. Next up is horse, which I didn't put it here for whatever reason. That's a mistake on my part. But to say horse, you can say un cheval. Un cheval. Un cheval. Now next up is duck. And in order to say duck, you can say un canard. Un canard. So that is duck. Next up is hamster. And I love this picture of this hamster. I thought it was so cute. But in order to just say hamster, it's just un hamster. Un hamster. So just don't really say the H whenever you say hamster if you say it in French. Hamster. So next up is guinea pig. And to say guinea pig, you can say un cochon d'Inde. Un cochon d'Inde. Un cochon d'Inde. Un cochon d'Inde. That's just 4 times saying that because I really, really, really like the way that that sounds. If you're saying un cochon de, you can almost like say the de to translate into the un, so it rolls a little bit like a liaison, kind of saying un cochon d'Inde. So then next is snake, and to say snake, you can say un serpent. Un serpent. Un serpent. Then next is deer. And in order to say deer, you can say un cerf. Un cerf. That last F is not really pronounced that heavily. It's kind of a like soft pronunciation, so you can say un cerf. Next is a goose, and I actually struggle to pronounce this myself sometimes because there's a word for I in French, unoi, So I kind of always pronounce goose this way, unoi, but if that is wrong, any French speakers, please correct me in the comments. But you could also say unois. I think the two of those are possible translations, but for whatever reason, I've always struggled with this one, unois. So next up is dog. And in order to say dog, you can say un chien. Un chien. And it's important that you don't really accentuate the last letters of it, because if you say the IEN too hard, it can translate as a curse word. And so it's important to say it chien, just kind of up in the nasal a lot. Then next up is cat, which is my favorite, obviously. My cat is literally laying over there sleeping right now. But in order to say cat, you could say un chat, un chat, un chat. Then next up is fish. And in order to say fish, you can say un poisson. And you might remember the song les poissons, ooh, I love les poissons from The Little Mermaid. And also just a bunch of other Disney songs frequently use this. So thought that was a cool one. And also in order to say April Fools in French, you actually do Poisson d'Avril is the person who is the April Fools. The next up is rabbit. So in order to say rabbit, you can say un lapin, un lapin, un lapin. The next up is bird. This is another word that I think is kind of difficult to say. In order to say it, you say oiseau, un oiseau, un oiseau, un oiseau. And if you're just saying the bird, you would say l'oiseau. I think that's such a pretty word, but it can be a little bit hard to pronounce. So oiseau, l'oiseau. The next up is bear. And in order to say bear, you say un ours. Un ours. It kind of sounds like horse, but like without the H. I don't know how to describe that, but un ours is a bear. The next up is a tiger. And in order to say tiger, you would just say un tigre. Un tigre. Un tigre. And then next up we have lion, and I call my cat my little pretty little lion because even though he's a cat, he has this really pretty white mane that I just think is so beautiful. But so I call him a lion, but he's my petit lion. So in order to say that, you would say un lion, un lion. Next up is a fox, and I actually there are quite a lot of poems that are written about foxes by Baudelaire and other famous French poets that frequently mention un renard. So that is a fox. Saying that one more time, un renard, un renard. So the R isn't very pronounced in French words. A lot of the time it's very silent, so kind of when it's at the beginning of this, you say renard. So it's very, very, very slight, kind of almost in the back of your throat. And then the next one is wolf. And in order to say wolf, you just say un loup, un loup, un loup. And then is cougar. To say cougar, you would just say un puma, un puma, un puma. The next up is elephant. And in order to say elephant in French, you just say un éléphant, un éléphant, un éléphant. The next up is giraffe. And in order to say giraffe in French, you would just say une girafe, une girafe, une girafe. The next up is a monkey. In order to say monkey, you just say un singe, un singe, un singe. Then is a zebra. In order to say zebra, you just say un zèbre, un zèbre, un zèbre. The next up is hippo. In order to say hippo, you just say un hippopotame, un hippopotame. I love that one because the H, again, is not very pronounced in that one. So an hippopotame is how to say hippo. The next up is rhino. To say rhino, you just say un rhinocéros. Un rhinocéros. So kind of like rhinoceros, but with that accent right there. Rhinocéros. The next up is a crocodile. In order to say crocodile, you would just say un crocodile. Un crocodile. Un crocodile. Then is an alligator. And in order to say alligator, you would just say un alligator. Un alligator. Un alligator. The next up is a shark. You obviously have heard the song Baby Shark, so every single time I even see a shark, I always think of it. Don't know why. But the word for shark in French is un requin. Un requin. Un requin. And then finally, for this unit on animals, is whale. In order to say whale, you would just say une baleine. Une baleine. Une baleine. I hope that this vocabulary helps you improve your sentences and to start maybe incorporating a couple new subjects into your beginner sentences and phrases that you learn as you start following along with our journey at Francophile Phonics. Please like, subscribe, and follow for more if you liked this video. Until next time, à plus tard et à demain.